Now, by a show of hands, be honest with yourself. How many people know the 4 fundamental elements of hip hop? 4 people. This is critical. You're making my job real hard today. The 4 fundamental elements of hip hop is graph writing, which is graffiti, breakdancing, MCing, and DJing. Based on the 4 fundamental elements of the universe: earth, air, fire, and water. Hip hop just didn't come and just appear one day. They're based on elements of the universe. All right. This is how deep hip hop is. This is why it's far beyond a culture. All right. So we have to have this 5th element in order to synthesize the 4 elements to make it applicable to every situation in a culture. All right. Any situation that you may be confronted with.
Channel Live. BDP, Boogie Down Production. I don't know how many people familiar with KRS-One. So, between KRS-One and of course Chuck D, Public Enemy, Rakim, Big Daddy Kane, that era between 1986 to 1989, 90 had a great deal of influence on me as an artist. In that, knowledge was a key thing for young folks, not just people in the rap music industry, but just in terms of our generation. At that time, we were seeking for knowledge. Knowledge became something that was very valuable for us. Now, I like to, when I list my elements or list the elements of hip hop, for me, knowledge is first, because if you don't do the knowledge, you can do nothing else. Anything that you do in life starts with one, doing the knowledge, creating a direction and a focal point for yourself. So, when I state the elements of hip hop, for me, it's knowledge is number 1, and then we branch out from there. So events like this, though we're not rapping, we're not DJing, we're not spraying up graffiti, we're not participating in the other elements of hip hop, this is very much hip hop because we're dealing in knowledge, and how we approach knowledge is the hip hop part.
I come from a different school, if you will. In my youth, even if the men in my community may have been making some wrong choices, or they made the wrong decisions, they still had a base. There was still a knowledge of self. They may even have worn an African medallion. They couldn't even tell you where Africa was on the map. All right, but I came from that school of thought. I came from the school where knowledge of self was paramount to all other things. Knowing that you were the original architect, knowing that the African, in fact, was the original architect, that gave us a sense of power. To piggyback off something that Wise Intelligence said years ago pertaining to hip hop. When the brother got beat up, that infused the LA riots, right? The #1 song on the radio at the time was Fight the Power, and you could tell. And then you fast forward, and when Sean Bell got popped, the #1 song on the radio was Lollipop. All right, and we can go even further than that. We can move all the way up to Trayvon Martin. What was the #1 song on the radio? And you can tell because it infused the culture. So I come from that school of thought, and in my music, I try to bring that back. I try to reinstill that, to have knowledge of self, to understand who you are in the scheme of things, and in relation to what is going on around you, and to observe, are you a producer? And if you are a producer, how is it that you do not own or control or disseminate that which you produce? So that's my goal, and that's my mission in my music, to get people to actually think about that.
Without knowledge, you'll die. So ignorance is not just bliss. Ignorance is destructive. It will kill you. So when it comes to hip hop, though, when we talk about hip hop and the demise of the 5th element, or the element of knowledge in hip hop, I don't particularly think that there's been a demise in hip hop's use of knowledge or its adherence to that element. Only if we're interpreting hip hop based on what mainstream corporations are packaging and putting out as hip hop. Hip hop is always maintained its base of knowledge. Hakeem Green, I remember say lies, evidence. They've been here. There are many artists who are putting out information that is socially relative and politically relative and very conscious music, that will make you aware of some of the things that we're going to discuss today. But to say that hip hop has this demise of knowledge is to is to make it seem, it's almost like saying that mainstream corporations dictate what hip hop is or isn't, which isn't necessarily the reality. You know, they're siphoning off a particular brand of hip hop and they're putting that out as if it is what hip hop is, and it's not all of what hip hop is. So, you know, knowledge is very important. You know, get knowledge. You know, get intelligence rules the world. Ignorance is hip hop is black music, just as blues, just as jazz. It represents and reflects the experience, the history, the struggles, the triumphs of a people. You know, a greatly oppressed people, a very marginalized people, a voiceless people. You know, that's what hip hop is, that's what it always has been. But since mainstream corporations have taken control of the art form, they have excluded the black perspective. Therefore, hip hop is not disseminating any information that is viable or crucial to this continued struggle of black people in America. Hip hop is black music.
So when we play these albums, we jump into the car with our children and we turn the radio on. We're not doing any harm. We're just driving down the street. But your child is listening to Rick Ross saying, I put a Molly in her drink and I'm gonna rape her tonight. And your child is now absorbing that message, and they go home and you say, I didn't do anything wrong. I was just going to the grocery store and I turned the radio on. You gotta take more responsibility for how we participate and why we participate. And we gotta set an example because we're dying. We're dying.
This is basically going to go along with what you say, and I agree that some of the music that we play can be poisonous, and I agree with all the messages that are put out there. For the record, we don't play that song that she just mentioned. And you know, I do wish that there were more positive songs on the radio, but unfortunately that's not what people call a request. We play new music all the time. We actually, our station has begun to open up and let people give their input. We actually, they've been getting on us every day, every Wednesday they say, y'all need to take more requests. People don't make requests like they used to, but when they do, the requests are, I want to hear Good Cushion. They don't even know the name of the song. Can I hear that Good Cushion alcohol? That's what they want to hear. And I mean, like, I work Sunday morning, and that's what the requests that we get. And I know that, you know, yeah, that's just a small population that's being represented. Not everybody calls and requests songs. But, you know, that's what people want to hear. And I know it's probably like this vicious cycle, and that's not the answer. But, you know, on the other hand, yes, we play music that maybe doesn't always play a good message, but with having the position that I have and with the position that Dre has, we are able to do positive things.
I'd like to hear somebody talk about gold everything. Exactly. Date rape drugs. Nobody's sitting home saying that. And they call the radio station saying, yo, we have a song about date rape. No, nobody's saying that. That's not what's happening.
The people
the record companies are getting these songs added to radio stations' rotation, and they're playing it, they're paid to play it, and they're playing it 30 times a day until you find yourself liking a record that you never liked.
Exactly.
That's the way the system works. It's not supply and demand, it's create a demand and supply it. That's the way it works.
That's true. I got mine, you gotta get yours. That's not your friend. The other thing is, if I don't do it, somebody else is going to. It's about that money. They're not your friend. If somebody says those two things to you as an excuse for them to do what they're doing, that's not your friend. And that's just life's experience talking. That's not me. I don't know these people at all. I have nothing against them at all. It's just that we have a habit of putting up self-defenses. We have to check the problem at the root.
Business is for the sole purpose of making money. It's for they're trying to shape public opinion. That's their first goal, to shape public opinion. To make people, to mobilize people into a single direction that they chose. That's it. That's what they do. Hollywood don't make films for the sole purpose of entertaining you. It's to shape public opinion. That's what they do. That's why everybody's running around here on the same things all the time. Dressing the same, wearing the same hair, wearing the same shoes, wearing the same tattoos. Everybody is the same thing because they're manipulated by this apparatus that is in its essence an instrument of war. Media is an instrument of war. It's a propaganda machine, and that's what it does. That's what its function is. And if we don't understand the war that we've been in, since we've touched the shores of America, we'll never understand the instruments of war that our enemies deploy against us. We'll never understand it. You know, you can go back as far as 1832 with Nat Turner. After the Nat Turner Rebellion, what happened? They sent over 1,000 Christian missionaries into all the black churches and regulated what Negro spirituals could and could not be sang. That's what we're dealing with here. It's the same beast. It hasn't changed. So Lupe Fiasco can't get played because he makes socially, politically relative music that's based on the history, experience, and struggle of black people in this country. That's what it is. That's why it's not played.
Jay Ronan, come on. DJ Ace, all element. Shit, come on. It's the God, number 7. Here I come.